Exclusive analysis. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the three major indices: the S&P 500, the NDX or QQQ, and the Russell 2000 IWM. So we haven't really discussed the major indices in a free video for quite a long time. So I think it's pretty due for something in the market. I think we've had a pretty extended move here and a couple of resistance levels and technical setups I want to show you on the S&P 500 here. So this is the daily chart. Obviously, we've had a massive extension move all the way from 409 above 500, piercing a high of just over 514 on the daily chart of the SPY chart. Notice that we're well above that previous all-time high. Now, what is this resistance trend line that we're hitting? Well, if you flip to the monthly chart, I have shown my members this video and this monthly chart trend line, but just take a look at how this trend line goes all the way back to the year 2000, hitting this high pivot, intersecting in 2021, and now tagging that officially in 2024. So this is a 24-year trend line of resistance that likely is going to keep the market in check for a period of time. Now, eventually we will break through there. Markets tend to just go up and to the right for the most of the course of our generations. But typically when you hit a long-term resistance of this nature, price action is actually going to check back and see some consolidation. That's what I'm expecting on the S&P 500. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to have a crash just because we've hit this resistance level. You know, markets can still stay buoyant and really consolidate in a tight range, just like we did over here before it makes the next big move. Obviously, today we saw indices make a new all-time high and basically ended up selling off and put in a daily topping tail on the S&P 500 chart here. It did lack volume, but you did close negative on the daily chart session. If you look at the indices broadly speaking, you had a lot of weakness in today's session. There was really only one sector showing strength, and that was the semiconductors. You look at the SMH because of SMCI, NVIDIA, AMD, all of these sectors showed a great deal of strength, and typically when the semiconductors lead, the market continues to go higher. But today we actually saw the NASDAQ. Look at this. The NDX piercing above this resistance trend line, which goes all the way back to your previous high pivot, just creating a nice upsloping wedge pattern. This is getting very tight. You had an attempt at a breakout on this Friday candle. No confirmation today. You actually got a nice sell-off on the NDX chart. If you look at the QQQ, another thing I discussed with my members is this beautiful measured move pattern that we're into. So if you take this low to this high, it's roughly 128 days of upside, equating to just about a $103 move. If you actually take that to the high, it was just about a $103 move from the high to the low over 128 days. Take a look at the move we just completed here. From the low to the high, it's exactly 128 days as well, replicating a $104 move. So the markets love to move in symmetry. This is what's called a symmetrical move. When you have roughly the same amount of days and roughly the same amount of upside completed, and you're right into the top of this resistance trend line. So definitely last time we had this move, you had a nice little sell-off, which created lower highs. Basically, you started a little bit of a turn in the market. I still think that there is a scenario where markets will likely try to retest the previous all-time high. I think that there's still a whole host of liquidity that was waiting there. Yes, we busted through with sheer force, but I think that there's still a scenario where the QQQ retests your previous all-time highs. I mean, simply speaking, you had the majority of the mega caps down today. Take a look at Apple. Apple is getting absolutely demolished on the daily chart. Head and Shoulders has triggered. Downside is definitely in effect, although it's much, much more oversold compared to some other ones. Tesla has had a failed breakout on heavy volume, getting absolutely slaughtered today on the daily session. It was really your standout NVIDIA's, SMCI's, AMD's that were the powerhouse stocks. Looking at the Russell 2000, something's brewing in the small caps, guys. You know, you've had a couple attempts at breaking out on the small caps now. Even today, you had another attempt, and you did make a new 52-week high on the Russell 2000, which ended up getting sold into and closing negative late in the session. And one thing that could be brewing, keep your eyes on the regionals here, guys. Keep your eyes on the regionals. As the markets are charging higher, putting in new all-time highs, attempting breakouts in small caps, this is putting in a nasty daily bear flag, and this chart is not looking healthy on the regionals. It actually looks like there's some sort of another contagion event that is about to set forth in our market. So keep your eye on banks, keep your eyes on small caps, because typically people and small caps end up rallying substantially and gapping up and getting short squeezed at the near turning point of a market. On that note, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for being subscribers on YouTube. Please give this video a like down below. If you're interested in how I'm trading it, definitely check out tradingcapital.ca in the comments below. And please, if you disagree with my analysis, please, I'm open to all ears, as I always like to hear two sides of the coin. If you're bullish, please let me know. If you're bearish, please let me know. And if you're just neutral, that's okay too. You know, there's a lot of different ways to make money in this market, and that's all we're trying to do here, is share a wealth of information. Thank you all. Take care.